Hello everybody, welcome to Short Shot Archery. Anthony here, and today I'm doing a bow review. And that review is going to be on the Uuhka XPro riser, this beautiful white riser here, and the limbs that are on it, the Uuhka XXHM monolith carbon limbs. I'm going to be going through my experience shooting this setup. I'm going to be comparing it to a bow that I've shot, pretty regularly, and you've seen pretty regularly on this YouTube channel, just to give you an idea on the speed of this bow and its performance. So let's get started with the review. So how this review is going to work out, we're going to start off with the the aesthetics, the cosmetics of this bow, work in towards setting it up, how it worked for me, how the shot felt, and then at the end I'm going to be giving you some little bit constructive criticism, things that I would change on the riser or limbs or the combination together, and just maybe some things I really liked about it. And then of course there'll be links to Uukha's website, their Facebook page, so you can follow them there, see what they're up to, see what they have to say about their risers and limbs and pricing and availability and things like that, of course. So let's get started with the cosmetics, the look of this riser, and of course with these limbs in it. To me, I think this bow looks really sleek. It's definitely a change from your normal aluminum riser. You're used to a lot of cutouts and things on aluminum risers, and you're even used to seeing a lot of cutouts on other carbon riser companies' risers. So it's a nice change to have just this nice solid riser. It definitely has some curves and they have nice indents to it. It gives it some shape and style. It actually catches the light really nice as well. Of course, this is the white finish on this riser. It really stands out, and it really does stand out nicely with the other carbon and other black components on this bow. Of course, if you want just a carbon look or just like a matte look, Uukha has that covered with their new XPro 2. This is the older XPro, which I believe they are discontinuing, at least in my local shops such as Lancaster Archery. But at this point, I would definitely be confident in the design and feel of the XPro 2, if anybody is curious. With that, how the limb section is designed and how well the limbs fit into it and how it just flows so nicely into the rest of the bow, into the limbs, or even when you draw back the bow to shoot it, it looks really good. It's also a nice change that this riser has no extra supporting material or just stuff around it. A lot of the aluminum risers have extra bridges and stuff, and they do look nice and they do serve a purpose. A porpoise, yes, a nice porpoise. They do serve a purpose. It's nice to have a riser that doesn't have any of that going on. They're so confident in the structural strength of this carbon that they don't feel the need to have all this additional support in order to make it work. Of course, I'm sure that has to do with, one, the carbon material and the quality carbon material they use, along with the fact that there is no cutouts on this riser. So overall, you're just gonna have a stronger riser because there's nothing in the middle to make you wobble back and forth. This riser feels really solid. It actually feels more solid than some of the aluminum risers I own, which was interesting because I was initially thinking that this riser would feel a little bit flimsy, a little bit weak, but it feels nice and stiff. It feels nice and sturdy, which is a surprise to me, coming from always shooting aluminum risers. I felt that carbon would be a little bit weaker in a way, but I was pleasantly surprised. Other than that, I do like how Uukha does their limbs. It looks like you can actually buy them in different levels of decals. There's a pro staff look, there's a regular look, there's like a deleted look that has minimum decals on it. It's a really neat way to be able to customize your limbs to how you want to shoot, how you want your bow to look. There's no other company to my knowledge that is doing limbs the same way as Uukha, giving you so much flexibility in designing the look of them. Of course, I'm sure it varies some, based on your region and stuff, and that should be something you would ask Uukha about, through their website or their Facebook about the different limb decals, styles. So with that, let's get into the more functional aspects and beyond just the looks of this bow and how nice it does look. All right, now into the functionality of this bow and the setup of it. For setting up this bow, it was super easy. The limbs and the riser, everything was already in alignment. I highly doubt they did this for me, especially since it came from one of their distributors here in the US, so they had no idea which one I was going to get. So with that, I was impressed. Strung up the bow. Once I made a string to their specs, by the way, because they do provide information for string material, number of strands, and the length of the string, given the length of your riser and the type of limbs, if you have curve or X curve. These are curve limbs. X curve have a more drastic curve, so they need a longer string. But all of that was really well, it was all spelled out really nicely. So then when I strung it up to set it up, because I want to make sure my limbs are aligned and everything, I want to get my center shot set, and then I want to tune the bow to the X10s that I was shooting. All of that was a breeze. I made minimum adjustments. I made no left and right limb adjustments. All of that was set really well, straight from the factory. I did move the limb bolts in because these are 40-pound limbs, and I normally shoot about a 46-pound bow. My draw length, I hit 46 pounds, so I had to bring these limb bolts in order to increase the poundage of this bow. The limb bolts have 3 settings. They have a all the way out setting, you have your middle setting, and they have your all the way in. I'm at the all the way in setting, and I really enjoy the fact that they have markings on the limb bolts to tell you, like, this is the maximum in, this is the maximum out. That's something that no other company that I've experienced shooting products from has done. It's definitely unique, and I really do like it. It definitely gives you confidence knowing that, okay, this is as far as I should go with these limb bolts down before either my limbs don't click in correctly or it's not like recommended by the manufacturer. And then on the flip side, it's great to have a marking where this is the maximum out. After this, you risk damaging the bow or hurting yourself by causing undue stress to the riser, which could cause a problem with the limb bolt because it has no threading there. I really like how all of that is indicated on this Uukha riser, and then it just made the limbs clicking in and everything so easy, so smooth. This was one of the most simple setups for me that I've experienced in a long time, and very happy with that. So one of the other major pros of this riser, and I know it's a little thing, but it's nice how the clicker extension just pushes right into the riser and is just held there by a magnet. You don't have to screw anything in, which means there's one less screw that's going to come loose. It's something you don't have to remember to tighten because it's just there, and then you can pull it out if you need to. That was super handy. Other than that, there's just it's just the cleanness of this bow. It's a very clean bow. So now I want to move on to my experience shooting this bow, this setup. Of course, I did have a stabilizer and a sight on it and all of that, but for the sake of making this video, since we're just focusing basically on the riser and the limbs, I decided to take all those accessories off. But while shooting this bow, the first thing that I experienced, besides the smoothness of drawing it back and that feel of the bow giving you kind of like a let-off back here when you get to full draw, was the quickness of the shot. This is a very fast bow. and I was really impressed with it. I actually went and got some numbers for you guys because I know how everybody enjoys numbers. Of course, these are all going to be averaged together because I did a dozen or so of each of these runs just to give you an idea. So I'm going to be comparing my Uukha bow here with the XX limbs to my MK X10 with the MK Veracity limbs. So here are the numbers. The Uukha came in with a draw weight of 45.3 pounds. The MK X10 with a draw weight of 46.1 pounds. Now, these draw weights were determined by me tuning the arrows to the bow. I shot the same dozen Easton X10s with the same 120 grain tungsten tips with the same K&K Jet 6 SV vanes, Easton Knox, Easton pins. Nothing changed, and those were the bow weights I got in order for those arrows to tune bare shafts and fletched together in the center of the target at 30 meters. So, when I tested each one of these through my chronograph, shooting them out of my Coop's shooting machine, I was able to get an average of 210 feet per second for the Uukha and 195 feet per second for the MKX10. And I found that these numbers validated my original claim, or my original feeling that the limbs on the Uukha were really quick. And you can see that with 210 feet per second compared to 195. That is a fair bit of FPS gain, and you'll definitely see a different result downrange when you're trying to sight in for like 70 meters or something like that. And that was something I really wanted to share with everybody. I thought that was important. I know in other videos, especially ones that I just have to do on the spot and I don't have time to shoot the bow long term, I definitely feel like they're fast. I don't know how fast some of these bows are, but they usually feel faster than my base bow, my MKX10. This was one of them that was noticeably fast. Probably close to, if not the fastest bow I've shot so far. Of course, we'll wait to see what the future holds. But this time, because I had this bow at home, I could actually test it out and get some numbers for you guys. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I did my best to be as accurate as possible. Both bows were tested on the same day when I was getting those numbers within the same hour or so time span. So all of that should be as accurate as possible without me turning into a robot or something. And other than that, that wraps up our data on these two bows. So now I'm going to just finish this review up with my final thoughts. Okay, so my final thoughts on this bow. If you're going, looking to buy one, you're looking to buy a carbon bow, or just a bow in general, carbon-wise, this is one of, if not the finest carbon bow that I have shot. I haven't shot a ton of carbon risers and bows, but this Uukha bow is really fantastic, and I can see a justification in my mind for the price. I really feel like they put in a lot of time and effort, and they have a lot of pride in their product. They're not just throwing things out the door and hoping they stick. It doesn't seem like it's about sales numbers. It's about the quality and the experience that you're getting with the riser. At least this is just my experience with it. I feel really good about this this riser and limb setup. So yes, if you're looking to buy one, I would definitely recommend it. I think it's worth it. I think for bare bow, even though I don't do a lot of it, I'm mostly Olympic recurve on a target. For bare bow, I think the Uukha limbs especially could be something really beneficial for a bare bow shooter, because it's kind of nice when you get back to that full draw can really take your time and make sure you have that, a nice anchor and you're all set up, because you get this nice let off, this nice, and it just feels like the weight of the bow drops when you get it to full draw because of the curve of the limbs, how curved they are compared to your standard Olympic recurve limb. And with that is the big, pros of this. This is the things I really like about it, the things that really stuck out to me. On the con side, little things that I would nitpick and want to see improvements on is the markings on the back of the limb. I did make a mistake in an earlier video, and I had the limbs on backwards. It was a reading error / kind of a wording error between me and I guess the directions Uukha sent, which they send to every archer. I misunderstood what they meant, and a very helpful viewer and subscriber actually pointed out that, hey, limbs are backwards, and I was like, really? So I looked into it and I was like, all right. So in the future, it would be really great if Uukha could put just a top or a bottom marking on one of these limbs, just words, BTM, TOP. You could have it on just one or both. Both would be the best. That would make it a lot clearer. Even an experienced archer like me still makes mistakes. The only other thing is the grip. Initially, I was very interested in the grip. I kind of liked it. Over time, the grip is fine. It doesn't light any big fires under me. It doesn't get me super excited. It could I feel like it could use some work. It just isn't the most comfortable to my hand. But on that note, Uukha does offer a variety of grips for their risers, so there's probably another one that fits my hand better, or I could always go to like a third party like a Jaeger Grips and probably have one made for me that's going to fit my needs perfectly. So one thing maybe you want to keep an eye on is the grip, because it is more unique than some of the other risers out there on the market. But overall, great riser. Definitely recommend it. Please check out Uukha's website. Let me know what you guys think in the description down below. I'm doing my best to try to give you guys really great information on these products as I'm testing them, and I'm always trying to improve my testing methods. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. Share this with people. I would love to hear everybody's feedback on it. And as always, happy shooting!